word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings.
Our Take is our web show. Say hi. What's your number one program that you want to take care of?
First thing we got to do, we got to get the economy back on track. Inflation under control. We can't be having $4 gasoline. We can't be having groceries unaffordable. We got to get the economy working for all Montana again.
CEO Dana White, 45, soon to be 47, President-elect Donald Trump.
He did the Trump dance. He did the Trump dance.
Also signing an executive order to instruct the Departments of Defense and Homeland Security to begin preparing the 30,000 person migrant facility at Guantanamo Bay. Most people don't even know about it. We have 30,000 beds in Guantanamo.
This one. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Just Our Take, episode number 103. I'm your host, John, and this is my co-host, Dave. How you doing tonight, Dave?
I am doing great. How's it going, John?
You know, not so bad. How's my mic sound? I sound muffled on my end.
You sound great. You didn't sound earlier in a little bit of pre-show planning. You were, but you sound great now.
I don't want to sound. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
So, welcome back. You were gone for our last one. Elio did a great job of filling in. The fans the fans like him. I'm getting a little bit worried.
You know what? It works. You know what? It works when there's a little bit of chemistry, a little bit of synergy. So that's
yes, sir.
Yeah, no, it's good. I love the guy, and I'm glad.
Look at this. The gang is piling in. Look at that. Marie's here. Will's here. Alice is here. Ruth's girl's here. Come on now. How about that?
The feed's not freezing here. Wait, let me check. Let's see. Nope, not freezing. Reboot the thing. Just kidding.
Oh, it keeps freezing. The feed keeps freezing here, and I have to refresh every few seconds. I'm sorry about that. We'll have to. Well, I'm going to call up a company that can come out and fix your internet for you.
Yeah. Don't you just have that big red button? You just bloop.
It's the easy button.
The easy button. Yeah. That was probably one of the best. Think of all those iconic commercials. That was one of the better ones.
I thought Dilly Dilly was pretty good, but then they messed that all up.
Dilly Dilly. It was great. They should have stuck with that. Oh
Yeah.
man. Hey, so what
They
I
should
went
have stuck with that.
should have stuck with that. It was a good
Why
one.
did they screw that up? Some people are they're really quickly going in and they're checking out. They're Googling dilly dilly.
Yeah, what is that exactly? Oh, back when they were cool. They were cool. So, I was in the great state of Texas, and I have a lot to talk about it. If we had time, I could talk a lot about it. But I will say this: the people I were with, we were walking from our hotel to dinner and back, and of course, you take in all the sights. And I was with two people. They froze looking at the gas station because the price of gas. You want to guess? You probably get it. You'll probably get it pretty close because being in Montana at all.
Well, it is gas. That is oil country.
Oil
So
country.
I'm gonna say like just shy of $3.
Just shy of $3, like $2.89 a gallon.
Oh, I was
Now,
close.
one of the people I was with is from Washington State, where gas is like $5.30 a gallon, and the other
Yep.
one's from another country where it's like $2 a liter. So to pay only $2.70 or $2.89 a gallon is it's Christmas.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
Hey, can you give us our disclaimer real quick so we don't get in trouble
Yes.
with the fans at home?
Yes, here's our disclaimer. The show is called Just Our Take for a reason. This is just our take. It's our opinion, and we might have it all wrong. And if we do, don't be upset with us. Just light up the chat and tell us if we think we got it wrong, we missed a fact, or we're off base. Just let us know. But at the end of the day, this is just our opinion. We're not giving advice, and we certainly are humble enough to recognize that we don't have all the answers. But this is just how we think about things.
Before
John,
you get started, I've got a little piece of breaking teaser here.
Oh,
I actually had a chance to see in person. Hey, McGilla, what's going on? Welcome back. We haven't seen you in a little while. I actually got to sit down and talk very briefly with producer Marie, and she is going to help me develop a bombshell report. She's found some information. Oh yeah, she's found some information, and I will just tell you that it's going to rock our Supreme Court view. How's that?
Rock our view of the people in the Supreme Court or of the Supreme Court itself?
Oh, that's a great question, Dave. You'll have to tune in on Wednesday.
Okay. Let me set my reminders now.
No, I just a shout out to producer Marie for always keeping an eye out on things for us, because we only have so much bandwidth that we can follow, and she found a doozy, so I'm excited about it.
Good. Well, you know what? We have a few headlines, but the Supreme Court. Do I have the Supreme Court in there? If not, because I'll add it. I don't think I have it. I'll have to add it. All right. So John, in as part of our what's going on in the world, we can't talk about everything because we're trying to limit ourselves to an hour-ish. But I will tell you, there are still, as you know, aside from the breaking news you just talked about, tons of stuff that's going on, including that Supreme Court, including the Supreme Court, where they weighed in favor of Trump's administration, where they wanted to stop spending $250 million in teacher grants in 8 states that would have gone towards DEI type studies. And they said, you know what, we have a better use for that money. And the Supreme Court actually agreed that Trump's admin can halt that dollars. Okay, that's a very long headline, but since we're talking Supreme Court, I wanted to get that out. A few other things. I see you added one. Arkansas Governor Huckabee Sanders signs bill to approve the purchase of ivermectin without a prescription. Wow. How do you know? What do you know? It's not only legal, but you can buy it now. You probably saw this. There were nationwide something like 1,500 or more hands-off protests targeting Trump and Musk. There was it was a couple of airstrikes, but the U.S. struck Yemen, and it's been being sensationalized that they hit a group of civilians, but none of the images of the civilians and the images of the attack actually match. So it looks like it was correct what the U.S. Air Force says. I'll pronounce the name probably not correctly, but Grisa Martinez Rosas, you probably heard her. She declared her immigration status at the DC rally, undocumented, unafraid, and proud. Also, I have a feeling she's also a DACA kid, so she's kind of actually documented. So, I don't know where that goes. Jim Cramer warned of a potential Black Monday crash. Jim Cramer's been right on so often that they actually have an inverse ETF. So whatever he says buy, this ETF actually sells. That's how good he's been. Tariffs, are they boosting U.S. manufacturing? That's a headline. I think it's going to. I think we have the data say it's going to. U.S. Revokes South Sudanese visas over repatriation. So they won't take people that are being exported from our country. They won't take them back. So we're saying, okay, no more visas. Several tornadoes struck this week. I don't know if you saw that, but there was some pretty incredible imagery that was shared. Nintendo is going to delay the launch of Switch 2 due to tariffs. I don't know if there's been any updates this afternoon, but Nintendo fans have been waiting a long time for this product, so that's unfortunate. Klaus Schwab is stepping down as chairman of the World Economic Forum. I'd love to hear his unfiltered answer as to why. I think I know. Trump fired the U.S. Cyber Command and NASA NSA director. I don't know why I said NASA. NSA director Timothy Huff. Interesting. Germany considers removing 1.2 K, so 1,200 tons of gold from the U.S. vaults, which is valued at 124 billion in value. I hope we still got it. Trump admin cuts the IRS workforce by 25%. And then the judge ordered the return of a man mistakenly deported to El Salvador. Although I heard that person was part of the MS-13 gang. And so I don't know if it was mistakenly deported or not. Anyways, John, there's a lot more, but that's just a little smattering of what's going on in the world today.
All the news that's fit to be talked about at some point or another.
Yeah, crazy. So in those headlines, I know we've got a few topics.
Well, I know that we talked about, the Liberation Day, and you weren't here as that happened. That was right at the beginning of your exit, but it was kind of like he made such a huge deal out of it. He said that Trump said that this is going to be a day that will go down in history as truly the biggest economic thing that has ever happened, event that has ever happened to the United States of America. And then he came out and issued all these tariffs, and people were like, okay. We're not getting the whole picture. And it's not that he's hiding anything from it. It's that we're just not understanding just how big this is. I've got a quick video for us, followed up by some discussion, then a second video, and then we're going to dig in and you're going to give us a real good sense of what we're talking about here. But here's a quick one.
2nd, 2025 will forever be remembered as the day American industry was reborn, the day America's destiny was reclaimed, and the day that we began to make America wealthy again.
Today, Donald Trump fundamentally changed the country as we know it. This is the biggest shift in economic policy since World War II, when we liberated Europe and Asia. 47 says we're now liberating ourselves from globalization.
Our country has been looted, pillaged, raped, and plundered by nations near and far, both friend and foe alike. American steelworkers, auto workers, farmers, and skilled craftsmen, we have a lot of them here with us today. They really suffered gravely. They watched in anguish as foreign leaders have stolen our jobs, foreign cheaters have ransacked our factories, and foreign scavengers have torn apart our once beautiful American dream. This is one of the most important days, in my opinion, in American history. It's our declaration of economic independence.
After we saved Europe from Hitler and Asia from the Emperor, we created a free trade system to help the Allies' economies recover, and they'd help us contain communism. And life was great for American families. Wives didn't have to work if they didn't want to. You could own a nice home, have a big family, afford college on a decent salary, and your kids could have a better life than you. The United States finally won the Cold War, gave birth to globalization, and then other countries, even our allies, took advantage of us, took advantage of a system we designed to save and protect them. China, a country we basically created, became an absolute menace, and American multinationals conspired to ship jobs and factories overseas and decimated the middle class. If you're one of those workers of the last 40 years, free trade basically destroyed your life. Look at this chart. The top 50% of income earners, especially the top 10%, accumulated a massive amount of wealth. But the other half of the country, the bottom 50% of earners, have been suffocating at the bottom. The American dream has been dying, and politicians said there's nothing they could do about it.
Some of those jobs of the past are just not going to come back. That he's going to bring all these jobs back. Well, how exactly are you going to do that? What are you going to do? There's no answer to it. He just says, well, I'm going to negotiate a better deal. Well, how exactly are you going to negotiate that? What magic wand do you have? And usually the answer is he doesn't have an answer. But they're going to have to retrain for the jobs of the future, not the jobs of the past.
Mr. Hope and Change is like, sorry, I'm the most powerful man in the world, but there's nothing I can do.
Oh, that was such a good clip.
So by the way, that didn't age well. And, you know, maybe Barry should have read Donald's books.
Maybe he should have read Donald's books. Okay, what was the other one? When Trump just said, we just needed a new, the border.
That's right.
I forget. We can't do anything about it. We need to pass an act of Congress before we can.
Need any new laws? We just needed a new president.
It turns out, and there's Barry saying it's just not possible. Maybe we just needed a new president. Oh my goodness.
One caveat though, in that conversation, Jesse says that, you know, we basically created China. He historically understands that we didn't create China. He's talking economically. They were one of the poorest countries, and we basically lifted them up. We got them. We lifted them up. We set them on their way, and then they crushed us economically.
Well, they did what any country learning to run for the first time would do. They protected themselves economically and security too, from a security standpoint. Also, I got to make a comment.
Protecting yourself is okay. Crushing the people that helped you along the way, not okay, and they're going to pay for that. Anyway, go ahead. So,
Keir Starmer, I have a hard time with his name. I hope I'm saying it correctly. UK PM. This is the end. He said, this is the end of globalization. And of course, that's what we just heard, right? It's the end of globalization. And Klaus Schwab steps down. Do you think the one world global power, do you think that's over, John? Do you think they've given up and said, okay, it's not going to happen?
No, I don't think they've given up, but I know that they're hurting. They're on the ropes.
They're on the ropes. There's no question.
Hey, can I give you a real quick, super quick follow-up to that last one?
Yeah.
About the magic wand. Okay.
Could it be that there was a magic wand this whole time and Barack just didn't know how to use it?
Somebody said, well, what would you do? What can you do? So easy. I drop a 25% tax on China. And you know, I said to somebody that it's really the messenger. The messenger is important. I could have one man say, we're going to tax you 25%. And I could say another, listen, you mother, we're going to tax you 25%.
So that was Donald back in 2011.
I have a clip from him back in 1988 talking about how other countries, including specifically China at that time, were taking advantage of us in many ways. And it's in 88. He looks like a boy, and I have that clip if we want to watch it later. But Oprah dinner. I can bring it up. Hang on a second. I'll get my producer Scott to do it. Give me 1 second.
That's our technical producer, not our story, our scripting producer.
It's our technical, exactly. Hold on. Pause. Let me go and share the screen. All right. Looks like this was filmed a long time ago. So it is small, and I made it as big as I could.
What would you do differently, Donald?
I'd make our allies, forgetting about the enemies you can't talk to so easily. I'd make our allies pay their fair share. We're a debtor nation. Something's going to happen over the next number of years with this country, because you can't keep going on losing $200 billion, and yet we let Japan come in and dump everything right into our markets and everything. It's not free trade. If you ever go to Japan right now and try to sell something, forget about it, Oprah. Just forget about it. It's almost impossible. They don't have laws against it. They just make it impossible. They come over here, they sell their cars, their VCRs, they knock the hell out of our companies. And hey, I have tremendous respect for the Japanese people. I mean, you can respect somebody that's beating the hell out of you, but they are beating the hell out of this country. Kuwait, they live like kings. The poorest person in Kuwait, they live like kings. And yet they're not paying. We make it possible for them to sell their oil. Why aren't they paying us 25% of what they're making? It's a joke.
This sounds like political presidential talk to me. And I know people have talked to you about whether or not you want to run. Would you ever?
Probably not. But I do get tired of seeing the country ripped off.
Why would you not?
I just don't think I really have the inclination to do it. I love what I'm doing. I really like it.
Also, it doesn't pay as well.
No, it doesn't. But, you know, I just probably wouldn't do it, Oprah. I probably wouldn't, but I do get tired of seeing what's happening with this country. And if it got so bad, I would never want to rule it out totally, because I really...
Okay, so never rule it out totally. That was 1988. He said it was a $200 billion a year they're ripping us off. Well, $200 billion was the imbalance. What's the trade imbalance in 2024? You'll never guess. I'll just tell you. It was $1.2 trillion. And now that doesn't even sound like a lot anymore when you're $36.7 trillion in debt. What's $1.2 trillion? But what that means is we actually we purchased more stuff. We purchased $1.2 trillion more stuff than we sold. And we do this every year. We buy more stuff than we sell. And that has added to some of our economic imbalance. And that's a problem. And that's showing up in our the greater economy.
So to put that in terms of the household, you're going to Target and spending more money at Target than you are making in your job. So every single year, it's a deficit or an imbalance. So not good. It's not sustainable. At some point, the bills catch up with you, even if you are writing or making the paper. So
even if you're making the paper. So when you add the trade imbalance to a massive sized government that spends $2 trillion a year, more than it brings in tax collection, and then you talk about some of the other fraud, waste, and abuse that isn't even captured in those two numbers, right? Trade imbalance and government spending. It's trillions of dollars. We go backwards every single year. And we can't do that anymore because, as he said, we're going to collapse.
So everybody knows that we had gotten to a place that was completely unsustainable. So let's fast forward to Wednesday or last Wednesday, where he comes out and he applies these tariffs across the board. Minimum tariff was 10%. And everybody ended up getting this weird calculation. We don't need to go through the calculation. The bottom line is nobody got hit as hard as they were hitting us, but they were getting hit way harder than we used to hit them. And as of today, how many countries are begging for mercy?
Well, 50 countries have reached out over the weekend. Several of them, and I have a short list, have said, hey, we will remove all tariffs against the U.S. But John, there is without boring everyone with the math, what I will say is this: the formula itself, it's what's interesting about it is it took into consideration things that most people would not think about. Other countries, it's not just about a tariff that they charge on goods coming into their country from the U.S., but it's also value-added taxes. It's also currency manipulation. It's also quotas. It's also embargoes. And it's also things like they just flat out cheat. They'll bring products from one country and they'll export it through a neighboring country to get more favorable economic terms. It's just flat out cheating. When all of those other pieces, those pieces of the puzzle that are invisible to us, we don't even think about them. They are the things that actually create and then exacerbate this trade imbalance. Those are the pieces of the puzzle that were taken into consideration with these tariffs. So when you look at the tariff and you go, wait a minute, China was never charging us 34%. The actual tariff amount was like, I don't know, 5% or 6%, something like that. But when you add in all of those other pieces, it's like 70%, 70 on some goods, not on everything, depends on the sector. And that's why you see these huge numbers and they feel really big. But at the end of the day, they're meant to level the playing field.
Let me give an example, because by the way, true to form, people hate hearing about the economy. They hate hearing about the details of the economy, and the numbers are showing it. People are leaving our show right now. So I know it hurts me.
Hey, and the market's going to be down tomorrow also. Sorry, it's a fact.
So let me just give this analogy, if you will. This is a battery charger. This battery charger, if we purchase the Chinese version of this battery charger, it costs $20 each. However, there's one made in America, and that one costs $25. Okay, so it obviously, they both work very well. They both charge batteries. If you want to save $5, you buy the one from China, right? So what Trump has done is he went and put a tariff on the import of this product, which would, in essence, bring this price up to $30. So the Chinese version now costs the consumer in America $30. Well, shoot, I could have got it for $20 if Trump hadn't done that to me. So now I've got to either buy the Chinese version for $30 or I get the American version for $25. Either way, I'm paying $5 more. But here's the difference. If you buy the $30 version from China, only $5 of that goes to America. All the rest of it goes either to import tax or to China themselves. If you buy the American version, all of that money stays in America. So $30 and $5 stays in America, or $25 and $25 stays in America. Now, what happens? Short term, I'm paying more money for my battery charger. But long term, that battery charger company, because they're making more money, because they're selling more of these products, because it turns out to be a competitive price, they're selling more. So now what they get to do is they get to hire more people. All of that money stays in America. So that money ends up getting spread around more. It helps the overall economy of the Americas, as opposed to the $5 that would just not really help a whole lot of people. Does that make sense? Did I do that right?
You did a great job. And I'm going to add a couple pieces. I'll add to that. That $5. So the importer buys the lighter from China pre-tariffs, right? And I import it for 15 and I sell it for 20 and I made $5, right? That's good for me. By the way, I didn't need a lot of infrastructure to do that. I didn't need a lot of people. I actually could do most of that on my own. All the work will happen in the logistics. Easy. I'll work through a distributor. It's super easy. I make a lot of money. I become very wealthy. Me. And what do people hate in this country? They hate those rich people. But here's the thing about the scenario you painted, right? All of a sudden we're making the lighter in this country and it's $25. Battery charger. Sorry. Battery charger. I don't know why I said lighter. Oh, because it was a Zippo lighter, I think was one of the examples I read. Battery charger. And now you had somebody go and either build or retrofit a plant and hire people, electricians and engineers and construction workers and truckers. And then you also, by the way, not just had more jobs in that business itself, but also the jobs in the community that support the manufacturing that's done there. All of those jobs, by the way, which create more prosperity for the local communities, also mean more payroll taxes and more Social Security taxes, which, why is that important? Well, because rather than charging more federal income taxes or more sales taxes, those payroll taxes, which half of that is borne by the company, that helps fund our federal government. Number two, that Social Security tax helps fund and keep our Social Security and Medicare solvent. So the more jobs you have, as it turns out, it's just better for everybody and everybody who touches it. And would you want to guess up to date? So let's call it through this morning, how much money has already been pledged to be invested in the U.S. in new plants and new facilities? Do you want to guess that number first?
I already know the answer, so I'll just go ahead and let you take it out there. So
it's roughly $1 trillion, which is staggering. And then it's somewhere around 40,000 new jobs, which I have to tell you, that's incredible. And you're talking about companies like Apple and Toyota. I'm reading a list here, and Flex, Johnson & Johnson. By the way, Johnson & Johnson bringing pharmaceutical manufacturing to the U.S., that's big, right? So instead of us importing pharmaceuticals from another country, they'll be made here in the U.S., distributed locally. It's pretty incredible.
I will tell you that Donald Trump is touting $5 trillion pledged.
5 trillion pledge. 1 trillion is what is in so far, but the expectation is there are a few very large companies that have not yet confirmed, but they're likely to confirm.
And then on top of that, like we said, there's other countries that have already said, yeah, you know what, we want to renegotiate. The first, by the way, was Israel. Israel came right out and said zero
tariffs. Okay, and you know who else came out and said zero tariffs? Vietnam and Cambodia. Now, why does that matter? Well, that's where a lot of clothing and shoes are made. In fact, Nike, there was an analyst out there saying buy Nike because their shoes will come in without the tariffs. Zimbabwe, I don't know what we import from Zimbabwe or export to Zimbabwe, but they're on the list. Of course, you mentioned Israel already, but you have India already talking about dropping tariffs. The UK is talking about it. The European Union is talking about it. Mexico and Canada. In fact, I have a clip here. You remember Doug Ford, who came out and was just ripping on Trump left and right. Oh, this guy, and on and on and on. Well, he's changed his tone now that he realized that Canada and Mexico are largely unaffected. And so all of a sudden, this is Trump's a good neighbor, and I expect to do, we do business together for hundreds of years into the future. Completely changed voice.
I know a company that will not be impacted by the tariffs.
A newly imposed tariff will not affect prices at In-N-Out since none of the company's ingredients are imported.
Part of their growth strategy, if you've never had an In-N-Out burger, they're very fresh, they're very tasty. Part of the strategy at In-N-Out is they did not want to have an In-N-Out location further than a day's drive from their primary distribution center. Everything is fresh. So fresh lettuce, fresh cheese, fresh burger, fresh buns, fresh potatoes. So there you go. Now they are spreading, which just means that they're having to put out more of their distribution centers.
I just want one of their French fry makers. Have you ever watched that in action? They drop the potato in and it's just
Looks like we have Zimbabwe's top 10 imports, mineral fuels, including oil. Yeah. Okay.
Which makes sense. In fact, if you look at most of our exports, so this is what's interesting. So, in the Wayback Machine, we've lost over the last couple of decades about 90, according to Trump, about 90,000 different manufacturing companies have moved out of the U.S., closed or moved somewhere else overseas. And so then you look to see, well, what do we sell to other countries nowadays? Like, what are the big main exports? Most of it is actually fuel and energy. And then, of course, you have food. Those are our big ones, our big exports, which is incredible because then we import everything else, just about everything else.
I have a little video here for you. And this is economic policy as well as the Liberation Day is causing this, but I wanted to share this with you.
We were waiting to confirm this directly with General Motors, and now we have. And you tell me, if this is already a sign that things are happening in President Trump's favor, a General Motors spokesperson is now confirming there was a webcast to employees a short time ago. GM will be making operational adjustments at its Fort Wayne assembly, including hiring temporary employees to support current manufacturing and business needs. We continuously update and revise production schedules as part of our standard process of evaluating and aligning to manage vehicle inventory. This after initially Reuters was reporting on that webcast that they're going to be adding overtime hours for their employees, and they're going to be bringing some of that. They're going to be increasing the production of their light duty trucks at that American facility.
So not just increasing the production, but they're also bringing back more production and doing more of the overall assembly there in the Fort Wayne.
That's great. I mean, there's lots of examples of those kinds of things that are starting to pop up, but that's outstanding.
And then, true to your previous comment, I think I would be remiss not to share this. Let me bring this guy back up. You're going to love this, David. Oh, shoot.
Uh-oh.
Can you grab the Jim Cramer clip from the thing?
Yes.
It just
Jim
told
Cramer.
me that I lost my audio from that page. So
Jim Cramer. Sorry, I'm not really laughing.
no, I'm with you. I'm 100% with you. Trust me.
There was a time where I was like, Jim Cramer says, and then I started watching.
I used to love Jim Cramer. I get
Yeah.
it.
I've never seen somebody so wrong so often. Okay, hold on a second.
That still has a show. Oh, wait.
He's very
Meta.
careful what we say. There it is. It's a blank screen for a second here.
Maybe, though, what really happened today is that things have simply gotten too negative. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink, who writes an annual chairman's letter required reading for anyone in the markets, wrote some faithful words today. Quote, I hear it from nearly every client, nearly every leader, nearly every person I talk to. They're more anxious about the economy than any time in recent memory, end quote. I come back and say, I believe that. I believe that wholeheartedly. But let's think about what that really means for you and me. We have declining inflation, except the president's putting on inflationary tariffs. We have incredibly low unemployment, except where it's caused by the Trump administration. We have a market that was doing extremely well last year until the Trump administration sowed a level of uncertainty that I can't recall any time since, are you ready, ski daddy, Jimmy Carter, which is the last time people were really worried about inflation, about stagflation, okay? Back then, stagflation was real. Now, Jimmy Carter, curious benchmark, break out the cardigan sweater. I know it's a brutal comparison. You think I did it idly? I cannot think of another president in my lifetime who knocked down the stock market simply by opening his mouth than Jimmy Carter. Eureka, I have found him. So let's look at it this way. Everything about this economy is good. Everything, except one thing. We have a president who's very angry at everyone except Vladimir Putin. Oh, no, maybe even Vladimir Putin. And his wrath has made investors so downcast and so negative that people have just given up. They want nothing to do with stocks, nothing to do with this world, because they're sure the White House will keep laying on the tariffs that seem to be wiping out your wealth and my wealth. In this environment, it's a wonder anyone's buying anything, unless they think that the one person who's standing in the way of a great economy, one that could have incredible growth with lowered inflation, lower oil prices, less regulation, more confidence, will finally change the stripes. If Trump can lose the anger, drop the scowl, stop diminishing our friends and rivals while making common cause with our enemies, and generally start acting like he did in his first term, well, that would be huge for the stock market. As far as the stock market is concerned, though, we need less Jimmy Carter, more Ronald Reagan. Bottom line, maybe Wednesday is a deliberation day. It's just the day when American investors may be finally liberated from the president's not-so-pro-business attitude once he gets the tariffs out of the way.
Liberation Day.
Poor Larry. I mean, Jim.
So what most people, and we're not a financial channel, so I will try to keep this at a 90,000 foot level. But what most people probably are not aware of is that almost all of last year we were teetering on the point of a correction, and we started to roll over around the election. Roll over means it started to go down, starting a new downtrend, and it just needed something to give it a little energy to go off the cliff. And we found the energy, and that's the tariffs. But the market was already looking for an excuse. It found one. And And now it's happening, and it will happen. It will continue to happen until we finally, hit a bottom. And then once we hit a bottom, then we'll start to grow again. The beautiful thing is that as companies begin to build and manufacture and distribute in the United States again, and those jobs are created, which the jobs are being created, then that will actually create put real energy into the engine, not the fake energy we saw in the last 4 years and many years before that, quite frankly. When you when you make the government massive and you spend trillions of dollars on things like butterfly studies, the money, people spend the money, it's fake growth. Real growth comes from producing real things, selling real things to other people who want those things. That's where the real growth comes from. And that, I think, is what we're going to experience as a result of all these tariffs. Uncomfortable? Yes. Stock market decline? Yes. Will it find a bottom and start to move back in the other direction? Yes. Was it because of Trump? No. Was he the catalyst? Yes, no question. Jim Cramer, is he right again? No. Jim Cramer is mostly wrong.
Well, let me jump in here on this too, because the one thing Trump has said over the last couple of days is be patient. This is going to hurt for a little bit. It's going to hurt as we reset's the wrong word, as we change our way of doing business. So it's going to hurt a little bit. But here's another thing I want to tell you. Let's not forget how Trump operates. Is this the biggest news since, I don't know, since Trump's attempted, since they attempted to get rid of him? Can you think of anything bigger than this? I can't. So what happens whenever a really big news cycle is just completely clogged with something Trump did? Look over here, look over here, look over here, look over here. Then down here, something else is happening. I would just keep your eyes open. Something is happening big behind the scenes. Not that this didn't need to happen, because I fully believe 100% this had to happen, but Trump is a master of the media. He knows that this is going to clog the news cycle for a week or so. That's a lot of time to get other things done while others aren't watching you. And this is when he does it. Just my take.
Well, I mean, there are Pam Bondi is still very busy. So is Kash Patel. And we know the deportations are not in the news as much anymore, but we know they're still occurring. So there's still a lot going on, and court cases are, like we talked earlier about the Supreme Court case around the $250 million that the Trump admin was able to pull back and not send off to the teachers. And
by the way, what was that vote? Do you know what that vote was?
5-4.
And who surprisingly enough, who voted in the minority?
Tell me.
Well, Roberts was one of the 4, and then the other 3.
Yeah, shocking,
right? Roberts. That might have something to do with an upcoming story. But before that,
I was going to say
Elon Musk announcing the Department of Government Efficiency's new target. The next one up, he says, will be for the department will be looking into elected members of Congress who have become multimillionaires during their time in government.
No.
Let's just say that there's a lot of strangely wealthy members of Congress.
Strangely.
Where I'm trying to connect the dots of how did they become rich while how'd they get 20 million if they're earning 200,000 a year? It sounds, nobody can explain that.
Points. And one of the most entertaining things last year was following the Nancy Pelosi stock tracker. And there were several funds that popped up based solely on her stock trades, which outperformed all the index funds by quite a lot. And, it was very odd because Paul, her husband, would make these curious trades, whether it was Visa or Broadcom or NVIDIA. And all of a sudden, a week or two later, there would be big news with all of these companies that directly benefit him. Yeah, I mean, he must be psychic.
Yeah.
Like, remember Miss Cleo?
Yeah.
We need
just
Paul
hanging out.
Pelosi
Like,
on the Psychic Friends Network, at least giving stock advice, because, man, that guy bats like 17,000. They have to have a new scale for him.
wait, what does he bat? Did she say he bats 17,000?
Hold
There's
on.
that 17 again.
17. Okay, hold on. This is a goodie from the past. And I don't know if that's water
I'm sure it is.
or something else.
With members of Congress and their spouses be banned from trading individual stocks while serving in Congress?
No, I don't know to the second one. We have a responsibility to report in the stock.
These are just examples of all the trades that were made where they just made a ton of money. So she said, no, and the rest of the clip is, it's a free country. Of course we have free trade here and I'm allowed. Okay, that's enough of that. Next question. Yeah, grifter.
Well, and again, if you listen to the beginning of that clip when Kennedy says there are funds, you can actually go put money into a stock fund that they just track Paul Pelosi's trades, and it's outpacing all of the indexes. Yeah. You have to remember, there are people that put these funds together. They have hundreds of researchers, and Paul Pelosi is doing better than all of them.
It's genius. It's just genius. Martha Stewart went to jail for this, by the way. And that when I don't even know what she made. It was a tiny amount of money compared to the obscene wealth they've made.
Yep. Yeah.
Although I have to ask, has she made more money from NGOs or the stock market? That's the question. Like, which one of them is actually the bigger growth engine for her family?
I don't know, but I'm excited that this is their next target and that it's been announced. It's not like, oh, speculation. No. They've announced that Congress is the next target. And you're going to start seeing congressmen and women either being very nervous and attacking, because that's what they do. When they're cornered, they attack. Or you're going to start seeing people saying, you know what, in the interest of the country, I'm going to donate $27 million of my $23 million paycheck. Wait, that doesn't work, mister. Yeah, I know, but I do have that offshore account.
I mean, look over there. Well, John, I think the acceleration of these protests is part of that.
Yeah,
you think about how angry, what's his name? Schumer.
Schumer. Yeah.
Schumer. Think about how angry he's been, right? Like he's panicked. And then who's the other one you were mentioning? The other one you were about to mention.
Adam Schiff.
Yes. Adam Schiff, Shifty Shift. Panicking, just pure panic.
And again, they go into attack mode when they panic. But here's the thing. This is what's really interesting to me, is that things that you and I meaning us and the audience, have intuitively known. They're actually saying them out loud, which is really good news. So what they're saying is that they're tracking how some of these people have gotten rich. And what they do is they fund these programs overseas. That program shifts it to an NGO, non-governmental organization. They shift it to another NGO and to another NGO. It goes through 7 or 8 NGOs and then ends up in the accounts of some of these, like Schiff's brother. I don't know if he has a brother or not, but it goes into his brother's account in the Caymans.
Yeah, just, somebody who's connected to the family in some way. It's incredible. And you're talking, hundreds of billions of dollars over years. So yeah, I hope they're going to hate Musk even more. Like, how dare you expose our favorite politicians?
I'm going to address this in a little bit. I promise you, before the end of the show, I will address this. And I agree with you, Alice, that if anyone can find it, the Musk team can do that. And by the way, I guess Saturday Night Live, Mike Myers did a very distasteful sketch on Musk, and they were mocking his autism because he is on the spectrum. He's mentioned it.
Yep.
But they were mocking his autism. How classless do you have to be? These people are just scum. Sorry.
You've seen, I don't know if you want to show any of the videos from the various protests, but they have no class. They literally have no class. There's no conversation. There's no intelligent argument, but there are lots of signs, and these signs are, I mean, they're repulsive. And by the way, when did it become so common to call someone a national socialist? You could shorten it up for say it on our YouTube channel. When did it become so okay to call someone a national socialist and wish them to be unalived and want to destroy them? And this is a mass hysteria if we've ever seen it. You're talking tens of thousands of people today or yesterday were out protesting, and they lost their mind. They're angry. They're so angry about what what do they personally have to gain or lose? Specifically, what is it that it's going to impact them if somebody roots out fraud, waste, and abuse in government spending? I don't know.
I'm going to play this clip, and if it doesn't have any sound, then if you could find, it's listed at 1,300 protests in America. But
okay. I've got that one too.
Okay.
Feels like it, right? That said, may I suggest that you go to bed kind of early, hydrate, eat your Wheaties in the morning, maybe put off the Friday night cocktail to make it a Saturday night cocktail this week, if at all. I'm only saying that because tomorrow is going to be very busy. Saturday is going to be very busy. I said at the top of the show, there are more than 1,200 protests planned for tomorrow in all 50 states. I stand corrected. It is more than 1,300 protests planned in more than in all 50 states. It's expected to be the largest single day of protest since Donald Trump took office. Joining us now is Ezra Levin. He's co-founder of Indivisible, which is one of the groups that is promoting these events tomorrow. Ezra, thanks very much for joining us tonight. You were here just a couple of 3 weeks ago talking about the earliest idea for April 5th being sort of a hub for events all over the country and in Washington. How has the organizing gone? What has the response been compared to what you expected?
Gosh, Rachel, it's been incredible. Can I just say it has been incredible? We knew when we announced 3 weeks ago on the show that this was going to be the week where we saw an election in Wisconsin. We were cautiously optimistic about that election in Wisconsin for the Supreme Court. We didn't know we were going to kick Elon Musk's butt all across the state, but we were cautiously optimistic. We also didn't know that Cory Booker was going to give this incredible speech, inspiring all of us and telling us that he was taking a stand in response to pushes from his own constituents. And we also didn't know that Donald Trump was going to launch a global attack on the economies of not our economy, but the global economy. This confluence of events, this sense that they are overreaching so much and there is a possibility to fight back and win is leading to this just incredible response. As you said, more than 1,300 events every single state. Yes, there are over 100 events in California. There are more than 60 in the state of New York, more than 50 in Washington, but it's not just blue states, Rachel. We see 17 events across the state of Montana.
17 events across the state of Montana. They had 8 people in Missoula. 8.
Woohoo!
8.
Hey, I was looking the stat up because I couldn't remember. I wanted to confirm before I say it. Rachel Maddow's viewership. Now, I don't know what it was like 10 years ago, but from before the election to right now, she's dropped 41% in viewership in just 3 months, 4 months, something like that. That's how many people tune into the Rachel Maddow show. Bless you. Bless you again. Anyways.
I just want to say the interesting thing was that Rachel Maddow actually admitted that these are paid for protests.
They're paid for protests. She's giddy about, Indivisible, by the way, is collecting money from NGOs. I think they were very active actually in Wisconsin during that state Supreme Court election last week. Indivisible, funded by NGOs, funded by USAID, or used to be funded by USAID, paid for the paid protesters. And I don't know if you've spent any time at all. I went to go look at some of the clips just to see, are they really paid protesters? Massive signs. Like, these signs are not cheap. If you've ever gone to make a banner, you know that a small banner is a couple $100. To make some of these that are like, I don't know, 20 feet long and probably 6 feet tall, those are not cheap. Somebody's funding that.
Well, let me just pull up this next clip.
Can
'Cause
I
think
comment? Can I comment on this one?
No, I think this might answer her. This might answer her question. I don't want to be lumped into the same. No, answer it after this because
okay.
I don't know that she wants to be lumped into the same crowd as our protesters.
I don't even know what
criminal
he's gonna
charge
say.
of rape. He is credibly alleged of having raped a 14-year-old girl. Is that what you want for your president?
Absolutely not. Right? Yeah, which one are you guys talking about?
I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
You're
I shouldn't have
good,
done
you're
that.
good, my friend, you're good.
I was talking about our alleged president, our fascist, Nazified, idiot, moronic.
The Manco Menace?
Break our NATO alliance, turn our allies against us, steal our money, throw 71 million people off Medicaid that people depend on. 71 million people. Is this what you want? Do you want money taken from your grandma? Do you want to not support battered women and abused children? Is that what you believe? Stand up and say it, fascists. Stand up and say it. I'm standing up and saying what I believe. You stand up and say what you believe, and not platitudes, and not idolatry. Let's hear ideas. You have no ideas. All you have is hate, racism, stupidity, and greed.
A round of applause for that right there. He has been waiting a while for that. Yeah, that was great. What do you think about the vandalism that's going on at Tesla dealerships around the country? And we're not the TV, so you can say whatever you want.
You know, I still for no violence unless we're pushed. I mean, they want us to do violence so they can declare martial law. So that's why I'm against the violence. They are police officers? Okay. Do you want my name?
What are you guys out here protesting today? What's the number one thing to be anti-Elon for?
Stop the oligarchy. We want Americans. He's not elected, and he has no business doing what he's doing. We don't want the billionaires taking over our country.
Are you trying to? Oh, let me get you on Facebook. Hold on.
Yeah, we're stopping the oligarchy. That's what it's all about.
Did you feel that way?
They pit American against American so that they can pick our pockets.
Did you feel that way when Kamala Harris actually got more donations from more billionaires than Trump did?
I felt like I had a buffer, at least with the Democrats. Now we have no buffer. Okay, so at least we were fooled with Kamala in there that we're going to be on a slow bleed, and now we're on the, take it right. I'm living on Social Security, and for the first time.
This girl is interviewing people who know.
My name's Jenna.
Also, Jenna, I'd like to mention that Social Security is not an entitlement. It's something that put in 8% of every one of my paychecks. My employer put in 8%. They did not give me a retirement account because they said you have a government retirement.
Evidently.
Okay.
Look how serious they are.
Yeah, that's why I didn't make money.
Wow.
Who are they here for anyway? It's like someone hired them because they're routinely attacked at events or something.
Yeah, if I was Tesla, I would hire security. I don't blame them. I've had companies in the past where things happen. I hire security.
Yeah, or perhaps just a little girl who films YouTube videos that gets attacked at these types of events.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
this, and the thing is, at the end of it, no one will take care of this guy. He's not alone. I don't know how many people are as angry as, and just like so angry as he is. He's ruining his life. Like his entire life is ruined because somebody told him that you have to be angry, get out there and protest. And here's this guy's life is ruined. And who is going to take responsibility for this, for doing this to him? Nobody. And there's a lot of people out there like that, John. The mental health, who said this? Remember, this came up a couple months ago, that the number of people requiring mental health services is going to skyrocket. And I think you just showed a couple of really clear examples of people who need help because they're lost. Like that guy is, I'm worried he's going to have an aneurysm or a heart attack.
The heading for that clip, by the way, when I found it, said we're going to need more mental institutions. So, all joking aside, there are people. I mean, you saw the guy. He's off the charts. He is unhinged. Literally, the definition of unhinged. And I don't think that was an act. I think that's who the guy is.
I don't know, but there's a lot of people like him. So I was watching IRL earlier today because he was going through and just he was at the Capitol trying to talk to people, wore a suit, and just everywhere he went, people were just angry at him, from young to old, angry at him. By the way, all Caucasian, almost everybody he ran into. Very odd. I don't know why. It's just very strange. The older population and mostly Caucasian. And I don't know what to tell you. That's just what who they're filming, walking through all around, angry, yelling obscenities at him, standing between him and the camera, Like he had to get the police to step in and help. And then the one guy who's harassing him was like, "Oh, he hit me. He hit me. He hit me." He's just trying to interview people. And he's asking questions like, "John, look, you're out here protest. Well, tell me what you're protesting today. What's on your mind? How are you feeling about things? What's really bothering you?" And he's just getting attacked. Crazy.
Well, and that's, I don't know if you heard at the end of that clip, the interviewer, the young lady, she was mocking the people that were making fun of her for having the security. She goes, "Well, I don't know. I mean, people getting attacked, little girls getting attacked for making YouTube videos." And so she hired security. Can you blame her?
Not at all. And those guys look like they could handle themselves. And I don't think anyone's going to touch her. But it's sad that she has to do that to go in and interview people about, what are you protesting? What's on your mind? I'm so angry I could kill something.
Must be good money in making YouTube videos.
Obviously somehow.
So anyway. Alice says that Bernie Sanders is going to be in Missoula on April 18th. Who wants to go wear our MAGA hats?
Oh,
I could sport the dark MAGA hats. How about that?
When is that? April 18th? I got to look at my calendar. That'd be a fun one to go see Bernie. I would wear the fight shirt. I'd wear this hat. Or the fight with P 2024 on the back. I'd wear that shirt and this hat. Oh, that'd be so great.
It'll have to be a discussion we have offline. How about that?
I got to find this. I have a Bernie Sanders clip here. Well, you know what? I won't play it because it's back to tariffs, but I'll just say he's rather funny about it. He's like, "Oh, so it's okay. We should have our people live in the streets. That's fine. That's what you want, is it?" Bernie Sanders.
No, actually, we think it's a great idea that you raise taxes up to 11.75%, so that we can again tax the people to pay for the homeless.
Yeah, tax again. No more taxes.
Here's an interesting clip. Newt Gingrich, by the way, I met the guy, nice guy, and actually we went and saw him. My family went to see him speak at the Reagan Library. So, library. Sorry, that was a little joke there for my friend.
I get it.
Anyway, he's speaking about these rogue judges.
Thank you, Chairman Issa and Roy, Ranking Members Johnson and Scanlon, and all the members of the subcommittees for allowing me to testify. There is clearly a potential constitutional crisis involving the judicial branch's effort to fully override the legislative and executive branches. 15 district judges effectively seized control of various executive branch duties in the first 6 weeks of the current presidency through nationwide injunctions. This is potentially a judicial coup d'etat. It clearly violates the Constitution and more than 200 years of American history. To set the stage for this hearing, let me mention 12 former federal judges appointed by President John Adams: Richard Bassett, Egbert Benson, Benjamin Bourne, William Griffith, Samuel Hitchcock, Philip Barton Kay, Jeremiah Smith, George Keith Taylor, Oliver Wilcott Jr., Williams McClung, Charles McGill, and Williams Tillman. President Adams appointed these federal judges on his way out of office to hamstring the incoming President Thomas Jefferson's agenda. President Jefferson concluded that impeaching the judges would take too much time. He and the Congress simply abolished the courts in which they served via the Judiciary Act of 1802. This is a constitutional balance of power. The legislative and executive branches can reshape the judiciary branch. It is a useful reminder in considering the current situation. Unelected lower court judges have been steadily grabbing power for years. It was such an obvious threat that in 2012, Vince Haley and I wrote, "Bringing the Court Back Under the Constitution." It is an historic study which I am submitting for the record. According to Harvard Law Review, there were 96 nationwide injunctions ordered by district courts from 2001 to 2023. 2/3 of them, 64, were issued during President's time in office. Furthermore, 92% of the injunctions against President Trump were issued by judges appointed by Democratic presidents. Since January 20th, 2025, lower courts have imposed 15 nationwide injunctions against the current Trump administration. This is compared to 6 during George W. Bush's 8 years, 12 during Barack Obama's 8 years, and 14 during Joe Biden's 4-year term. The notion that unelected lawyers can micromanage the executive branch and override a commander-in-chief who received 77.3 million votes should trouble every American. This is particularly troubling for issues of national defense and public safety. Around 500 BC, Sun Tzu asserted in The Art of War that, quote, speed is the essence of war. How can the United States have speed in national security issues if opponents can judge shop to find someone ambitious or arrogant enough to block, repudiate, or delay the president's decisions? There are 677 authorized district judgeships. How many think they can override duly elected presidents? This summary statement has 4 propositions. First, the courts have often been challenged. President Jefferson wrote, quote, judges as the ultimate arbiters of all constitutional questions would place us under the despotism of an oligarchy, close quote. President Andrew Jackson was in constant fights with the Supreme Court. President Abraham Lincoln made the Dred Scott decision expanding slavery a centerpiece of his 1858 senatorial campaign. In his first inaugural, President Lincoln warned that if the Supreme Court held supreme rule, quote, the people will have ceased to be their own rulers, having to that extent practically resigned their government into the hands of that eminent tribunal, close quote. Second, as the Judiciary Act of 1802 proves, the legislative and executive branches can constitutionally defend their rights, and they have in the past. It is historically and constitutionally wrong to think the legislative and executive branches are helpless against judiciary actions. Third, the Supreme Court could intervene to eliminate this attack on the executive branch by district judges. Chief Justice Roberts could end the growing confrontation by establishing a rule that any nationwide injunction issued by a district court against the executive branch would be suspended in implementation and immediately taken up by the Supreme Court. This would remedy the lengthy appeals process. Fourth, the Congress and the President can take decisive steps toward bringing the judiciary back into a constitutional framework. This hearing is a good first step. There could be a series of hearings on the constitutional and historic framework which ensures no single branch of government can acquire dictatorial powers, specifically the judiciary and this committee. These hearings would educate the members and the American people. They would create a national understanding of the need to defend the Constitution against overreaching branches of government. I would also recommend that the Congress pass Chairman Iss's No Rulings Act, which is a good signal to the courts that they have gone too far. Thank you, and I look forward to your questions.
Wow.
Okay, so he knows that he's on a time constraint, which is why he spoke so rapidly.
Right.
And there was a lot of information in there. But the bottom line is the judges do not constitutionally have the right to do what they're doing right now, meaning these district court judges making rulings that impact the entire country. Goes back to some of the most recent rulings on the election. They didn't have standing to impact a nationwide election, so they didn't rule on them. Well, now they're doing exactly the opposite. They don't have standing, but they are ruling anyway.
Yeah, they don't have standing. And the thing that needs to happen very quickly is it needs to quickly come to a point that they don't have the standing. And I think the only, maybe I'm wrong, but the Supreme Court needs to rule on that and make the statement, and just, that's it. You don't, as a district court judge, you do not have jurisdiction over the president's executive orders. And that's it. Stand down.
This comes to a head at times like today or yesterday, Julie Kelly, a conservative journalist, she uncovered some information from a judicial transcript where they kept on saying, well, Judge Boasberg, that's the one who said you need to turn the plane around and bring those MS-13 and Tren de Aragua terrorists back to America.
We want them back. Yes.
Right. So they said, well, he was just randomly selected. It just came up on the roster. That's who.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, he has been doing other things, and he did things in Trump's first presidency that worked very much against Trump, and again outside the law. And he had written a letter to the courts, a clerk of courts, saying, "Hey, when a court case comes up, I want to be first in line on it." And this document has come to light. So not so random and not so unscripted. So Interesting that that's happened. However, here's a good thing. Andy Biggs, apparently, he's a Congressman Andy Biggs. He has, there's your Boasberg himself. He has put together a resolution to remove U.S. District Court James Boasberg for failing to uphold the Constitution's good behavior clause without requiring the traditional 2/3 Senate vote. So he's not trying to impeach him, which would have taken a 2/3 vote. He's just saying we're going to remove him because he's violated the good behavior clause. And there's a good chance of it going through because he's trying to undermine the Alien Enemies Act, which is a 1798 law. By the way, it's a law that was put into place back in 1798. It's never been challenged, and it's not been revoked or removed. So President Trump has every right to resurface that law.
Yeah, it doesn't mean it's suddenly not relevant anymore. And if it wasn't, then it would have come up between then and now, and it would have been ruled on as no longer relevant, right? And the law would have changed, but it didn't. So
And there you have it.
yeah, I was going to say, and then let's talk about just as in the Wayback Machine. Feels like years ago, but it was only like a year ago. Judge Merchan in New York.
Yeah.
I think there's 26 judges in that circuit over there. It's supposed to be random selection for all the different cases. Guess who the judge was on 3 cases related to Trump and his minion, Merchan. It's just so miraculously coincidental.
Go figure.
A little bit of lawfare.
I've got another, it's a little bit of a non sequitur here, but we're jumping to another one. By the way, why don't we just do a quick nod to our
good call.
Amazing, wonderful Steel Rebel Design is the sponsor of the Just Our Take show. Kim and Company over at Steel Rebel Design makes all the hats, shirts, hoodies, cups, mugs, you name it. If it's got our logo on it, they're the ones who are making them for us. They also make things for you. We have a friend that just, she's getting ready to do a, I don't know what they call it, the Goofy Marathon or something like that. So they do a 5K on one day. The next day they do a 10K. The day after that, they do a half marathon. And then on the last day, they do a full marathon. Wow. She's getting to do that with a bunch of her friends. I know, I'm like, you're glutton for punishment, but she apparently is a marathoner. But anyway, so she's getting ready to do that. And so Kim is going to design some shirts for her. Nice. Pretty cool. And so I guess there's a group of them, and she heard about them through us. And so that's how they're going to do it. But they can do a small design. I don't remember how many shirts they're getting, but it's not a gigantic number. So if you need 5 or 500, she can take care of you. She also does the embroidery hats, and we've seen some of those here on Just Our Take, the MAGA hat and the snow camo MAGA hat, black on black MAGA hat, and the gold on black, gold on snow camo. You name it, she can do it. If you've got a design, bring it to her. And again, Kim over at Steel Rebel Design, I guarantee she can make it for you. If you use the code JustOurTake at checkout, she'll give you 10% discount. Why not go to Steel Rebel Design, the primary sponsor of the Just Our Take show, and talk to Kim, and she'll take good care of you for whatever your logoed product needs are. Thanks to Kim and Company at Steel Rebel Design for everything you do for the Just Our Take show.
Well done, John. Very smooth.
Hey, almost. So I want to share this one. This one's actually kind of a trip. There's all these things going on. This one was just released today, but I think it actually was filmed a few weeks ago. Either way, it's still pretty, doggone it, I lost it. And I don't think I have, I'm going to have to, Dave, do you have another clip you can show while I fix this?
I was going to say, okay, this is just for fun. Has nothing to do with anything else, but I thought this was super cool. Super cool. This is made by Kawasaki. I think I have that right. They wrote. Yes, that's a person on a robot. I was going to call it a robot horse, but I don't think that'd be right. It is all-terrain vehicle.
What a trip.
Okay, I'm not- I just thought that was super cool, and I could see people wanting this and to do just what this guy's doing. That was my.
I mean, I don't know. It looks kind of fun to me.
That looks ridiculously fun. As
I
long
don't
as
know.
as long
If
as
it's-
there's no AI that takes over.
I was just gonna say, if it's AI enabled, it might take me into another country. I don't know.
Montana country. All right.
Okay.
That was my fun share.
All right, let me share this one. Hopefully you guys get the voice on it or the sound on it. So Benny Johnson took a trip over to the EPA. Let's just see what he found at the EPA.
Come on in.
You have sound?
Yep.
No one's home.
Wait.
Got a very haunted mansion vibes, right? Her eyes just moved. I know it. Her eyes just moved. This museum to the EPA is how your taxpayer dollars were spent. $4 million to build a gift from Joe Biden. Hey, EPA, gotta water your plants. There might not be any federal workers, but there is lots of chipping paint here inside the EPA. This better not be lead paint or asbestos. Did you guys know that Greta Thunberg has her own mural here in the EPA? We had no idea.
You all come to us young people for hope. How dare you?
We have the Joe Biden Memorial and we have a Greta Thunberg. Okay, all right, that's I'm done. Wait a second. You ever had to use this? Is this the DOGE bat? You can tell me.
So the difference is,
What's up, guys? We're here at the Environmental Protection Agency in Washington, D.C. The new administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency, Lee Zeldin, just discovered $20 billion that Joe Biden's administration shoved out the door. Gold bars on the Titanic, they called it.
Now it's just how to get the money out as fast as possible before they come in and like fuck it up. It truly feels like we're on the Titanic or we're throwing like gold bars off the top hat.
Where'd that money go? Are they protecting the environment around here? The grass looks kind of dead. I mean, I don't know. It's getting a little chunky. There's quite a bit of litter. I don't know, for the EPA. We're going to check in on the building here behind me. Is anybody home? What have they found? More importantly, what's DOGE doing about all this? Seems like a nice building from the outside. Let's go check on what's going on the inside of the EPA today.
Welcome to the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency. We're going to go into the building here in just a moment, but here at the entrance, there's something of note. This is the EPA Museum and Educational Center. This cost $4 million to build, a gift from Joe Biden to the EPA.
In the arms of the angel.
We're walking through the 5-building complex for the EPA, tens of thousands of square feet. And as you walk through, you're able to look in and out of these offices. It's the middle of the day, in the middle of a work day, and there's no one here. Here, you can see the directory of everybody who's working today. There's been a problem with a little too much work from home that has created total ghost towns of the federal government buildings. And these buildings are incredibly expensive to maintain. But what you'll find is no one. Echo! Is anybody here? Is anyone home? Hey, let me give you an office tour. Come on in. Really vibrant in here. Gonna show you all of the things going on right now. There's empty mail cart. Hey, EPA, gotta water your plants, man. What's going on here? Look at this. Poor guy. It's kind of like a ghost town. Like there was a rapture. Like some of the offices still have shoes in them, but they you can tell they haven't been worn for like a decade. Everything else is gone. Nothing's been touched for 4 years since work from home started. Like an artifact, like Pompeii, right? Like, everything is as it was, and it's just abandoned. This is the memorial, actually, to Joe Biden at the EPA, which we think is touching, and we're thankful for them for reminding us, actually, where we've come from. It's just a monster binder from the year 2000 that's just sitting here on a windowsill. It sure used a generous amount of paper. This is an entire tree. Does the EPA really need this many light bulbs to light the hallway? Really?
And
This
goes
is
on.
fantastic. If this does not make you angry, what would? This is your my tax dollars paying for those light bulbs.
So it goes on. There is a clip or a link down below in the description for the entire video. It's just
John, that's a future WeWork. I can see Musk and Trump.
I thought WeWork was going out of business.
I don't know, but you know what they should do is they should license that to one of those companies and let people move in and rent an office. I mean, let's get some money back.
Well, I don't remember what the number was, but I know that there are millions and millions of square feet of buildings that belong to the U.S. government, or they're renting, and they're completely unoccupied. And so that is one of them. I know that Lee Zeldin said he was going to get his employees to come back to work, but it's going to be a percentage of what they originally had in there. So they don't need all that space anymore. And doggone it, think about all the energy, since we're talking EPA, how much energy do you think that we can save by not spending all that electricity to power up all those buildings?
We for sure can save a few trees. Yeah, maybe we can bring down the cost of energy by not wasting it there. I just wanted to see how many people work for the EPA. Let's see. According to Grok, it says 14 to 15,000 people. Okay, well, I counted like 2 in that video.
Yeah.
That's it.
No, those were with him. Those guys were with Benny. They actually
0.
were. There's another clip where they show them with him. So
unreal. Unreal.
Yeah, I mean, the great part is that these things are getting cleaned up. And again, every time you hear someone like Elon saying, "I promise you, we're going to increase." He did, by the way. Elon did promise that we would get more money from Social Security, not less. So,
yeah,
I have to share this meme because memes are fun. I don't know if you knew memes are fun. Here's a fun meme.
We are going to Mexico to vote in their election and demand free health care while waving the American flag. If they ask for our papers, we'll riot, attack police, and sue them. Yep, for a road trip. That's exactly what it is. I think every time I see one of these massive demonstrations and you see a flag from another country and you see people burning our flags, ay caramba.
Ay caramba, that's a good one, Dave. Where'd you get that?
Bart Simpson, circa 1990 something. I don't know what year that was.
Did you have more? I thought you had a ton of things in your clips, but
I have a couple things. They're just small. They're super. Look, I found this amusing. So if you don't find it amusing, that's okay. I'm not going to be offended. But here, I will share it because nothing says comedy like the journalists on The View. Now listen carefully because this one goes fast.
I bet you there are a lot of people that voted for Trump that wish and a lot of people who didn't vote.
I bet there's a lot of people who voted for Trump that wish Kamala Harris was in the White House right now. Nope. That's nope.
I love when you go through and you look at some social media. So mostly on, I guess I screwed up my algorithm on X because all I see is these angry liberal, far leftists, and they just, saying all these things that we know not to be true. But they always ask, "Is this what you voted for?" And I always, one word, "Yep."
Yeah, that's exactly what I voted for. The other thing, that's exactly what I voted for. Yes. I'm looking to see. So we covered a lot of some of the other things that I had. Marco Rubio, he talked about it as a headline earlier today, but he said, look, if to South Sudan, if you're not we're going to deport these people. They're on the list. And if you don't take them back, bad things are going to happen. And finally, he just said, okay, we're revoking all your visas, and you can't visit us until you decide to take back people that we're deporting to you. I mean, this Marco Rubio, he's comes across, firm but fair and polite. And he's very funny. Like he's a bit of a comedian if you ever watch any of his interviews. But he's turned out to be a heck of a Secretary of State. I'm very excited for him in that role.
I don't know if you saw that Colorado passed a bill, I think on Friday. It makes misgendering your child abuse.
Shocked. I don't know what to say. Great. Oh, can we take that to the Supreme Court before some parent gets arrested and has to go through the trials of hiring an attorney and then having to challenge that law in court? Can we just take that one straight to the Supreme Court and have them go, that's ridiculous? The answer is no.
Well, the worst part is that, what they'll end up doing is they'll end up taking the children out of the house.
That's what I'm saying.
And then your child.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And then you go through this whole, I'm assuming this, like so many other really bad laws, somebody has to be charged with this, has to be charged right first and then convicted. And then they've got to challenge it. Now, meanwhile, their life is wrecked. Their finances are wrecked. And it goes all the way to the highest court. And then hopefully they get a ruling that says this was bad. But do they get their life and their money back? Nope.
No.
Especially not against the state.
Nope.
So,
and it's more about ruining people than it is, creating a better place.
Yeah.
Anyway, look, I'm excited about bringing you our little teaser on Wednesday. That's when we'll be back on Wednesday to bring that to you. That story. There's a couple others that we've got in the cooker that we're working on, and then I'm excited to see what happens next, because I guarantee the beginning of this week, you're going to see some fallout from the tariffs. And when I say fallout, I think more people are going to acquiesce, and they'll either change their behavior or they'll start paying us big bucks. Either way, good stuff.
Yeah. And I'm excited to see more companies committing to reopening existing facilities or investing in building new facilities. I think either way, that's good. It'll create jobs. It'll create some infrastructure. So yeah, I'm excited to see what happens with that as well. And look, the painful part is anyone who's got a 401k or an IRA right now. Yeah, the stock market, it's ugly. It was gonna happen. I'm just saying it was gonna happen. All the technical analysts have all said it. It's here's where we are, and we just need that one black swan event. We've had it. Just my take, not financial advice. I think the market's got a little further to go. We'll stabilize, and then we'll start to we'll see it rebuild, and we'll see the rebuilding of the stock market happen, I think, alongside of rebuilding of a lot of our manufacturing in the US. So I am very excited. Short-term pain, long-term gain. I think it's in front of us.
David is not a financial advisor, and don't take anything that he said today as financial advice. Please consult your own financial advisor.
That's what I said. I didn't say it as nice as you did, but that's what I said.
I'm also really interested to see what is the hidden behind the headline, because the headline right now is tariffs, tariffs, tariffs. But what is going on that we don't see? One last thing I want to show you is, and this is before we go, I want to show you something that came up, because I promised Marie that I would talk about this before we closed out, and so here we go. I don't think that's what I wanted. That video doesn't go with it, but okay, let me come back here. All right, so no, that's not it at all. Here it is. No, I don't. That's not it. Sorry, guys.
I think you should fire the producer.
I'm going to fire the producer. Here we go. Okay. If you've not been following Deputy Director Bongino's post, that's Dan Bongino to you and me, you should be. He is essentially telling us that there is reform going on behind closed doors, and they are going to do this right so that change is lasting. He says results are coming. that he wants to be judged on those results, and that just because we cannot see things happening right now does not mean they are not happening. In other words, he reiterated that he has heard all the criticism and feedback, and that he cannot make you trust him, but that if you watch what happens, the puzzle pieces will begin to fall into place. Bongino is being about as transparent as he can be without directly telling us what they are doing. Cash and Bongino are going to carry out the operations by the book in a methodical and airtight process. It has to be perfect, and they cannot risk compromising their plans just to appease people being impatient online. He's kindly asking us to give them time to show some results while reassuring those who have doubt that an operation is underway.
Good. And you know what? I think we kind of knew that, even though I am very impatient. Maybe you're patient, but I have zero patience. I want to see some arrests, but I also want to see the arrests. I want to see them righteous, right? They have the right evidence. It's the right person. It's the right crime. They're doing everything by the book so that when it goes to court, no judge can throw it out. A jury will get it and make the right decision. Hopefully, if they're guilty, they get it convicted. And then the public will complain and cry and call lawfare and say all the nasty things that we expect them to say. But at the end of the day, if it's done by the book, it'll stick. And so I think that's the right call to action.
If you would you read Deputy Director Bongino's post then for us?
Okay, headed back to DC today after spending a day back home with my wife and daughter. As I drive back into work, I want to reassure you that nothing that is happening here is happening by accident. Because of the sensitivity of what the FBI deals with, both the director and I have to be circumspect in what we can make public. Bad guys read this stuff too. Shocking, by the way. Neither one of us came here to play games. Measure us by results. You will see them. But just because you don't see something happening right this second doesn't mean it isn't happening. I'll conclude by stating that not every result is going to please everyone. That's just pandering. It's not leadership. Complex problems require diligence and a reform-oriented process to create lasting changes, or else you're simply putting a bandage on a gushing wound. Let's do it right.
And just to put a exclamation point on that, Marie says, I sure miss his daily podcast. I do too. But I'm really glad he is where he is. Love Kash Patel, and I love Dan Bongino's passion for what it is that he's doing here.
As he says, cutesy time is over.
Cutesy time is indeed over.
Yes.
And speaking of which, so is the Just Our Take show for this Sunday night. Got anything to add, Dave?
No, I'm good. Excited for I'm making a trip. Making a trip soon. May run into some other members of my family, and if I do, I'm rehearsing the response to how's it going? What's new in your life?
I need to get you some of our cards so that you can hand them our cards with the QR code directing them to our show.
Oh my God.
So
anyways, sorry, that's what was on my mind. But no, thanks, John. It was a lot of fun tonight. Looking forward to Wednesday.
Awesome. Thanks to you, David, and thanks to producer Marie for helping us out, and for all of us, including the sponsor. Thank you guys very much, and we will see you on Wednesday night. Have a great night.
What will we do with this moment? How will we be remembered? Look at the opportunities before us.
This election really isn't about the left versus the right. It's about we the people choosing our government and the choice between freedom versus tyranny.
Nobody has a chronic disease burden like we have. Why are we allowing this to happen to our children? Ultimately, the only thing that will save our country is if we choose to love our kids more than we hate each other.
What is going on here is deeper than politics. It is deeply spiritual. We are being called to rise above the hatred and the fear and the evil.
we need to remember above and beyond that we must love our neighbors, that we must treat other people as we hope to be treated.
You want to be a rebel? You want to be a hippie? You want to stick it to the man? Show up on your college campus and try calling yourself a conservative.
America is going to reach heights that it has never seen before. The future is going to be amazing.
Don't you want healthy children? Don't you want a president that's going to make America healthy again?
I come to you today as a former Democrat. I will be a first-time Trump voter tonight.
The people dreamed this country, and it's the people who are making America great again.
American rock and roll.